One thing that we didn't cover in the previous video related to shape tool basics was the notion that shapes also come with an animator property. Now we covered animators when we were looking at text basics and advanced techniques with text. And animators are these little extra properties that show up with this little play button next to the contents tab of a shape or text or something of that sort. Now we can animate these shapes using traditional means. We can animate position and scale. We can even animate the rectangle size and position and roundness now. But with an animator, we can modify even more details related to this shape. So let's give some of those a try. Now, one thing I'm going to animate first is just a simple twist of this shape. So when I click on that play button, I can add all of these different animator properties, but I'm going to choose twist just because it's very easy to understand and visually kind of follow. So when I clicked on twist, it added this animator under the contents of my rectangle. It gives me additional properties related to the angle and center point of that twist. So the angle is how intense that twist is going to become. So if I wanted to create something like a little hurricane icon, I can do that very quickly with a rectangle and a twist animator applied. Now, I don't have to have this be so extreme. We can get just really nice, like kind of wavy warbles on this object. Right now, it kind of looks like a Hasbro logo. A piece of cloth in the wind, stuff like that. Can kind of get some nice just contour bends on these objects just through a simple twist. So these animators can be a method of warping a shape, but it doesn't actually have to animate it. So if you just want this nice, smooth, kind of wavy flow on the outside of a shape, you can use a twist. But we can also change the center point. So as the center point moves, you can get some really lovely results, like say something blowing in the wind, just by changing the center point. Because what's actually happening is there's a point at which the twist occurs, and the further away it is from the shape, the different that twist angle looks. So I'm going to make that more intense and show right now it's moving out to the side, and it's creating this illusion of almost like a flag blowing in the wind. And I mean really gusting. So using simple animators can be a technique to getting very complicated results. So I'm going to lower this this angle for a little bit. Just make it even super small. Like maybe let's do like a 10. So it doesn't look very visually impactful right now, but even when I move this left and right, you can see that it's creating this nice like kind of wave feel. So that's an example of a twist. Let's add one more. I'm going to delete that one just by selecting, hitting the delete key. I'm going to add, let's add a zigzag. So zigzag is one that I hear requested quite a lot. Now zigzag is not requested by name, but zigzag kind of gives this idea of like the edges vibrating on something. So if the size is really small, say like a 2, the ridges per segment kind of moving up and down can kind of create this this kind of frazzled edge. So it can kind of give you that look. We can also change the points from corner to smooth, and just moving the size of the zigzag can create some really gnarly effects on the edge of your object. So you can see as you move it up and down, it can kind of create some like warbles on your shape. So it's kind of an interesting one there. Let's see. Let's get rid of zigzag and see if we can give one more example. And these are kind of yours to experiment with. We'll do wiggle transform and see how that one works. So wiggle transform is something that's going to happen over time, but we need to kind of get our let's get kind of our intensity of our wiggle happening first. So let's see if we can bump up these values a little bit. And let's see if we can combine this with, say, like a zigzag. So we have a zigzag there. let's make sure that these are sorted in order. So I want to zig first, and then I believe do the wiggle transform. See if we're getting some results. We should be seeing this move over time, but I'm not really getting that just yet. So this might be one we'll have to experiment with a little bit more, and that's just kind of what these are there for, is to kind of experiment with and to kind of play around with and see what results you can get. So there's a few others. We can mess with pucker and bloat. So we can either expand or kind of contract these shapes. Almost kind of makes like a polystar out of a regular shape, and we can kind of duplicate these along together. So we can stack multiple different objects on top of one another. And something that I want to mention is you've seen me kind of drag and drop these. These animators happen in stacked order, which means zigzag will happen first, then the pucker and bloat will be applied on top of that zigzag. If we change the order, then the pucker and bloat occurs first, and then the zigzag happens. So you get two very different effects, don't you, between the two stacking orders. So keep that in mind as you're kind of working through these. But that's kind of the basics of animators. Great for experimentation. Hopefully you can find some appealing and interesting effects that punch up your animations. If anything, make them a little more visually interesting.